G'day legends, it's been a minute, but we're back with another viewer mix reviews video. And basically this is a segment where you guys, the viewers, get to send in mixes that you're working on, and then I get to review them, give you a little bit of feedback, hopefully helping you improve your mixes. But of course, there's always a disclaimer with this, that mixing is super subjective, and what I think will make a good mix, you might not think makes a good mix, and we may not agree on the same things, which is totally cool. So with that in mind, let's dive into it and check these mixes out. Now the first one was sent in by EJ all the way from Florida, and this track is called Bitter. Let's check it out.
I'm sick of saying this is for the best. The feelings in my head don't match the one that's in my chest. I've been breaking all the promises I made to myself, 'cause I miss you like hell, can you tell?
Okay, so firstly, I feel like the vocals just need more compression. They're getting a little bit lost in the mix and they kind of poke in and out. Melody has a lot of jumpy notes where the singer's pushing them out a little bit harder and then dropping back, and it just needs a bit more compression to balance that out, because it feels like some words get a little bit lost in the mix, but then some words are poking out. Okay, so we need to find that sort of sweet spot. Squashing the vocal a little bit more will help it sit in there a bit better. Also, maybe a little bit of saturation or something to the vocal. I mean, even just compressing them harder might have this effect anyway, but just getting a little bit of edge to them, they just sound like they need something to help them cut a bit more.
One day I'll wake up in another state. I'll have a show to play that day. Everything will be okay, it's just a break.
Like there's almost some masking going on between the vocals and the guitars as well. The guitars are pretty loud and the vocals are competing pretty hard with them. Perhaps a small cut in the mids of the guitars, maybe around like 600 to 700 hertz. We're cutting the vocals at the same time here, so it's not really helping, but I think that could help. Maybe we can just cut the sides here. Yeah, the vocals are a little bit clearer now. Like I'm cutting about 6 dBs here of around 500, 600 hertz. So kind of in that area, I think we could cut a little bit out of the guitars to make space for the vocals, and that might help them poke through the mix a bit better too.
Another state, I'll have a show to play that day. Everything will be okay, it's just a breakup.
So you can kind of get the idea. Obviously it'd be good to cut a little bit in the mid there as well, but when we do that, it just cuts the vocals, so it doesn't really show the whole purpose of that. But there is somewhere in that mid-range with the guitars that just needs a little cut. You hear the drums, hear the snare drum. It's got either like some room or reverb on it that's making it a little bit dirty sounding. It's kind of like in that 300, 200 hertz area. Hear that? So I can hear that kind of clouding things up a little bit. Maybe just in the drums, just doing a little bit of a notch. It could just be on the drum bus, or it could be going in and maybe cleaning up the rooms, or maybe even it's like the overheads. Maybe it's a reverb send on the snare. There's just something in the drums around that 330 hertz.
In love, I realized it's a two-way street. I crossed the road 1,000 times. You're the one driving my life. I got
It's a small change, but it makes a big difference.
the last good thing I ever saw. I still wish upon the shooting stars. One day your heart will come back to mine. I know.
This is pretty cool. I like the change up. The acoustic guitar sounds kind of cool, like a bit more like raw, like there's just a guitar sort of like playing it on their lonesome.
I still wish upon.
I like how it's got the buzzers and it's a little bit rough around the edge. I think that's cool. When it kicks back in, it just feels like we're missing some excitement. It's like the cymbals are missing.
On the shooting stars. One day your heart will come back to mine.
Like I would like to hear the crash and whatever cymbals playing over the top of that.
I know I'm only sitting
mean, even when I'm boosting this high shelf, I'm not really hearing much cymbal. So that might just be a volume thing. Just need to like bring those cymbals out. Even this bit here, like there's just nothing. I can hear it's there, but it's not present like a cymbal should be when you're going to town on it. So that would add a little bit more energy and just like excitement to the track there, I think. Overall, I feel like the kick's a little too loud. I think just bringing the kick down maybe like 2 dBs would kind of help it balance it out with the mix a bit better. That could be a preference thing. I just don't really like hearing the kick super loud in a pop punk kind of song. Like it's generally not a sound that's super upfront. I don't know, like the snare should probably be a little bit louder than the kick, and at the moment it feels like the kick's dominating. You can hear it pumping the mix a little bit. You might like the sound of that. That's just something that I would change. I would bring the kick back a bit. I don't really like how the lead guitar is down the center. I mean, this is just a preference thing for me because I know there's a lot of people who like to do double track guitars, lead down the center, but I've never really loved when vocals are going over the top and you have a lead and a vocal stacked on each other, because they're both just fighting for attention, and there's all this other space within the stereo field where you could put that lead guitar. And if I was doing this, I would probably double track the lead and pan it out a little bit so then it is more to the sides and the vocal can have the center, and then the rhythm tracks can be hard panned, and I would fill it out that way, and you still have that sort of same effect of having the lead a bit more centered, but it wouldn't be taking the exact same space as the vocal. That's just like a preference thing. Even just panning the lead off to one side a little bit. I have no problem with things not being perfectly balanced. Like there doesn't have to be complete symmetry in a mix. Like you could have the lead a little bit more to one side. Maybe you just bring the lead up a bit more so we can hear it a touch better. Bring the rhythm guitar down a touch on that side. Let that side kind of focus the lead a bit more, and then balance it out with a bit more rhythm on the other side. Just something to play around with. Even back to the bass drum, I think you could cut like some 200 hertz out of that kick. It feels just like a little tubby sounding. You know, especially like when you get those double kicks going, it's just like too much low mids in the kick. So yeah, all of that stuff. Nice little cut around 200, 250 hertz in the kick. I think would make it sound a little bit punchier. All right, so there's a couple of things to think about on that track. Overall, cool song. Would just be great to hear the vocals a little clearer, a bit more cymbals present in the mix. At the start, it sounded fun. Like I can hear the cymbals there really well, and then when we get to the breakdown, they're kind of gone. So just something to think about, and just that stuff with the mid-range, just check that out. But overall, I think it's on the right track, just a couple of things to tidy up. If you want to support this channel, check out my website in the link below. Got a bunch of drum samples, a couple of mixing courses over on my website. Grabbing any of those is a really big support. If you buy a lot of gear online through Sweetwater, consider using my affiliate link below whenever you purchase something. It doesn't cost you anything extra, but a small kickback comes to the channel. Solid way of supporting this channel. So this next mix was sent in by Zion all the way from Toronto, and it's called Lately. All right, so the first thing I want to point out is the guitars sound out of tune. I don't know what you can do about that so much at this point in the process, but yeah, I can hear there's something going on. I don't know, unless there's like some sort of chorusy effect on the guitar, but it does sound like the intonation or the pitch of the guitar is just not quite right there, especially with the double track stuff going on. There's too much like variation in pitch, and it's grabbing my ears. like right there. The bass and the guitars, just pitch stuff going on they're not gelling nicely. Like that note on the bass sounds like it's between two notes just there. Not sure what's happening with that. Cymbal coming in a little harsh there. You know, I would definitely be looking to cut around like 5K, 6K, bit of a wide cut there on these cymbals. This is going to dull the whole mix down, but something maybe like this. Hear how that was just a lot gentler when the crash cymbal hit, so I would do that kind of thing to whatever your cymbals are on. Just chill them out a little bit, or even just turn them down a fair bit because it's just coming in a little bit abrasive. If you did that to the cymbals and not the entire mix like we're doing here, I think that would sound pretty nice. Overall, the cymbals are just like too bright, too harsh sounding, too loud. Just cutting some of those upper mids, turning them down a little bit, just soften them in the mix because they're coming through pretty hectic. Like even in the intro, they're a little bit too loud on the hats. I'd bring them back a little bit, just get those cymbals tucked down a bit.
So baby, don't know where we're going lately. Been wanting you ever again.
Vocals are cool. I'm liking the effects that you got on there. Sounds pretty nice. Overall, there's too much emphasis around like 100 to 200 hertz in the mix. There's a lot of things in this area, like the snare drum, fundamental. The bass seems like it's focused in the kind of upper lows, kind of around 100 to 200 hertz. There's a bit more bass there so that we can hear the notes clearly, as opposed to being down in the subby region. And the kick is also pushing kind of around that 100 hertz fundamental, sort of like chesty punch sort of sound, as opposed to like a low subbier thump sound. So I would be trying to separate these out a little bit into different regions. So maybe the kick needs to be cut between 100 and 200 hertz where the bass is kind of living at the moment. Now I know that makes the mix feel a little bit hollow because we're cutting everything, but maybe we listen to the start. It makes the kick feel a little bit deeper. We lose a little bit of punch, but maybe that can just be compensated for with a little bit more volume then to the kick, bring it back up, because we are cutting away volume by cutting the EQ. It does lose a bit of volume. But then the bass is going to have a bit more room in this area to sing and do its thing, and the kick's not going to be masking it as much. So we've got the bass kind of around here, like that 150 hertz. So you could maybe boost your bass at like 150 hertz, do a little bit of a cut on the bass drum at around 150 hertz. So we're trying to unmask a few things here. And then I would even go as far to say maybe cut the bass at around 200 to 300 hertz. It feels like the low end of the vocals, that sort of like thick vocal sound that you've got going on, is getting in the way with the bass as well. So we're getting like masking. So I'd be thinking cut the bass around there, boost the bass. So, you know, we're kind of unmasking certain things. So we're getting the bass drum down here, the bass guitar here, making space for the vocals here. I think that's going to clean up the low end and the low mids a bit more. It's kind of hard to do it with everything in the mix all at once, but that is the way I would go about trying to sort that out.
Don't know where we're going lately. Been wanting you over again.
Definitely chilling that high end on the cymbals.
She said, don't trust all the goodbyes, white lies, eclipsed with those brown.
The floor tom has a lot of sustain on it. I would try and gate that. So whether these are sample drums, then I would go in and play with the release time of the sample, shorten it down so it's not kind of droning out as long, make it a little bit punchier. I think that'll sound a bit better. You won't have this droning low end that's going to like mud everything up. Or I've always put like an expanded gate on the floor tom so it's just like gets a little bit of a punchier sound and closes up a lot quicker. Like I hear all of this 60 hertz in that floor tom.
She said, don't trust all the goodbyes, white lies, eclipsed with those brown eyes that played me. You know.
Even just cutting a bit of that 60, 70 hertz out of the floor tom when the drums are riding on it will just tighten that up a bit. So you can see a lot of our problems are the low end, the low mids and the lows, and then mostly like simple stuff in the high frequencies. It's a bit crazy.
Going crazy. So break my heart for this moment. Hit restart, buttons broken. Call you mine and watch us align, intertwine. Oh baby.
There are times when the vocal comes across a little bit harsh, and that could just be fixed maybe with some dynamic EQ or even just with some multiband compression. Just putting a band probably up around like 3 to 5K and just getting that to tuck those harsh frequencies back in a little bit.
Intertwine. Oh baby. Surround me.
You know, that kind of thing there. That's at 2.5K. So just finding those harsh frequencies when the vocal's sort of belting a bit harder and then using something like this to kind of tuck them in. I think that will make it sound a little bit smoother and gentler on the ears.
Know where we're going lately. Been wanting your loving again and again. Oh.
Yeah, I think that makes a big difference.
Baby, your loving's got me going. I know. Take control, babe. Take control before we break, baby. Oh, baby.
I like the groove, nice little ghost notes on the snare. I would really like to hear a little bit more snap on the snare. Like I've sort of been thinking that the whole time I've been listening, whether you can get a little bit more crack or maybe just add like another sample that's got a bit more snaps at the top end that you can blend in to help the transient come through. At the moment, it's all of that sort of low fundamental is what I hear on the snare, and it doesn't have any of that kind of attacky, snappy sound. That's the thing that I love to hear on a snare. You might be wanting just like the thick, deep low end of the snare and not so much the aggression of the top end. So that might be a personal taste thing. I like the width of the guitars there. I think these cuts could be a bit more aggressive for more impact. There's like something still playing in the background, like the bass or something. I would literally cut everything to silence and then just bring it all back in the beat after. It'll be way more impactful. Silence is such an amazing tool. So keep the choke of the drums. Don't cut any of the drums out, but try cutting like all of the other instruments for just that one beat. It'll really have a lot of punch when it comes back in. Like there's still guitar noise or some delay or something in there. just chop it all out, just have nothing, just like a complete hard cut on that beat, will sound sick. That's a cool ending. Love the guitar. Love it how it's sort of playing off the drums there. Really cool. Vocals sounded great at the end as well. So a couple little things there. I don't think you can really go and fix the pitch of the guitar stuff now, but definitely look out for that in the future. Just make sure everything is in tune and check the intonation. Because, you know, you can get your guitar in tune, but then if the intonation's bad, as soon as you start moving up the fretboard, everything goes out. And it sounds a bit like that, like there's something happening in there. Chill out the cymbals, multi-band, dynamic EQ on the vocals for the harshness. Try demasking the low end a little bit, so between the kick, bass, vocals, see if you can clean that up a little bit. Otherwise, sick song, love it. Okay, so our next mix is sent in by Jeffrey. It's called Sweetheart. He says this song is a bit of a learning song for him, learning to arrange, layer, produce, but overall struggles with mixing in general, so hoping to improve. So let's check it out, see if we can give some helpful advice. Okay, I'm going to stop it already there. This is maybe just a personal thing, but I really dislike reverb on hi-hats like that. I can hear that sizzly, bright air of the reverb on the hats, and that's just a maybe like a pet peeve thing for me, that I really just don't enjoy reverb on cymbals like that.
Welcome to my world, there's a party coming round.
Okay, so firstly, the track sounds really thin. The balance of the EQ is probably a little bit off. It's more skewed to like the high frequencies, and we're just lacking low end. We just need a bit more thump from the drums, a bit more bass guitar. Just sounds a little bit hollow at the moment. Let's see, what could that look like if we boosted the lows a bit? Hear what's going on there. That's a pretty big change. 5.5 dBs from 275 hertz up. That's kind of where I was feeling where we started to get the impact of the snare drum. The fundamental of the snare was coming through, starting to get more bass guitar and more thump from the kick. Even that guitar riff at the start sounded better. It had more body to the riff. So you get the idea. It's lacking in the low end, so just needs a bit of thickening up. But even still with that on, those hi-hats are driving me a little crazy. They're a little too bright, cutting through in an unpleasant way. They do sound a little bit digital. Possibly this is an electric kit or just some MIDI drums. I'll be looking at either on the hi-hats or cymbals, high shelving, getting rid of some of this ultra high stuff.
Welcome to my world, there's a party coming round. We're gonna do a little rockin' when the suns are going down. Cause working for the man isn't getting it done. I'm gonna make a better deal, going home where I belong.
So the double tracking on those vocals could be a little tighter, or maybe just turned down slightly. But it is hard when the music's not quite right. The vocals sound too loud at the moment. So I think once you fix the balance of the instruments, get that low end in there and chill out those highs on the cymbals, the vocals will just sit in there a lot better. They could probably do with a tiny bit more compression, just glue them, just push them a little bit harder so that they're a little bit more saturated, maybe like a bit of an 1176 kind of thing on the vocals might help. Okay, so I think these backing vocals could also have a little bit more body in them, but just be a little bit louder. I think when we boost this back in, they sounded okay. They might just be like high pass too much, or they just need a little bit of like low end around 200, 300 hertz to just get the body back in them. Yeah, it's really hard to give much more feedback on this song because the balance is really quite off with the instruments. Whatever you're doing, you're mixing and listening on, make sure you listen to some tracks that you like the sound of as well to get a reference for like how the low end should sound in your mixing space, because it sounds like maybe you're being tricked into thinking you need to cut a lot of lows out of the mix, but it's really lacking in the low end. Reference tracks will help you, because if it sounds really bassy in your room when you're listening to a reference track, then that's how your mix needs to sound. It needs to sound really bassy in your room. You might need to do some sort of treatment or corrective software to get your space working a bit better for you. The guitar solo is really cool. The toms were really loud just then. Nice little clap in there as well.
She's got fast cars, swimming pool, dancing in the hill. But you know I want my freedom, cause that's how I get my thrill. I want no rules, no job, independently, with a pocket full of frangles, the way it's gotta be now.
So a little messy with the vocals there. That could be cleaned up by cutting some low mids out of the vocals.
Fast cars, swimming pool, dancing in the hill. But you know I want my freedom, cause that's how I get my thrill. I want no rules, no job, independently, with a...
I feel like the vocals have too much 400, 500 hertz going on. And then just clean up those double tracks because they are making the vocal a little messy and unclear.
She's got fast cars, swimming pool, dancing in the hill. But you know I want my freedom, cause that's how I get my thrill. I want no rules, no job, independently, with a pocket full of frangles, the way it's gotta be now.
So I'm compensating for this low end boost with some dynamic EQ here, where the vocals are getting a little boomy, but then we're cutting out that low mid mud. You can hear it's a lot clearer.
She's got fast cars, swimming pool, dancing in the hill. But you know I want my freedom, cause that's how I get my thrill. I want no rules, no job, independently, with a pocket full of frangles, the way it's gotta be now.
So I'm only doing that because I'm boosting this low end, but if that was a problem, that would be the area to look, around 150 hertz. There's just a bit of boominess in the vocal there, but I am boosting the low end, so that could be the problem. But this area here, the 400 to 500 hertz, that's where there's a bit of muddiness in the vocals. Maybe even the instruments are masking the vocal a little bit. You got a fun song there. It's just lacking with the balance of the EQ. It really needs that low end. It really needs the high end sort of smoothed out at the same time with those cymbals, and that would just bring a better balance, and then you'd be able to get the vocals to sit in there a whole lot better as well. Because at the moment, that EQ balance is just really making the track sound thin, and then the vocals sounding really out of place in there. So definitely start by trying to thicken up that low end. All right, so that concludes this round of mix reviews. So we had a nice range of genres there, a bunch of different sounding mixes. It was very good to be able to listen to some of the stuff that you've been working on, and hopefully some of this feedback helps you with your mixes. Thanks for watching, guys. Make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. If you're always looking for ways to improve your mixing skills, then maybe check out my pop country mixing course.